I'm glad to be talking to you about tough conversations today. I appreciated this section and how necessary it is in our everyday interactions and relationships, particularly with our children, as we're going to be pressed into some tough areas, and uh, nobody really knows how to get under our skin like family members and like children. So, and needing to, as you mentioned in the video, we're really trying to grow them up. It's a process of development. We've all been there, and there's things that we need to talk about. Mm-hmm. And so, one of the pieces that stood out to me from the tough conversations section is how uncomfortable this may feel doing this for the first time. Perhaps talking about things that previously we just handled in a very different way, mm-hmm. as adults, as parents. And maybe just if you had some kind of a few comments about what that is like, words of encouragement for coming through that. Does it ever become more comfortable? Does it ever, or let's say less uncomfortable? Does it ever get to be comfortable? Or is it just kind of a space that you begin to sort of just settle into and be more okay with that kind of dynamic in a tough conversation?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pieces to what you're saying and to your question. And I want to address it in a couple different ways. So first off, I want to address one of the parts of being uncomfortable because you've done it other ways prior, right? So you might be more of the passive parent that just tries to ignore it or just tries to make it go away. You might be more of the lecturing parent that tries to talk it to death. Or you might be the parent that's more disciplinary and heavy-handed and just give them a good swat on the butt and it's over, right? But all of them have side effects. However, we are people of habit. We get used to the ways we do things, and so then we keep trying to just do it that way. So it can be a challenge just to try to change our habits. And that might take time. That's okay. It does take time. It takes time to make change. So first, recognize that. Don't beat yourself up over it, right? If we're going to start trying to make these changes, just be aware of what your normal way is to deal with tough conversations and see if there's start trying to find some ways to break your habits. Whether it's you put reminders on, or some people that try to break habits, they put bracelets on, or other things, right? Try to find some ways to remind yourself. I know for myself, as I tried to change some of my ways of parenting when I was younger, I would start recognizing when I felt frustrated or angry with my child, and I recognized that was a moment for me to take a break. And so I often would just tell the child they need to go sit for a little bit while I take a breath, and I would go take a breath. And that helped a lot as I tried to change my behavior. Now it's pretty easy in the moment not to get too agitated, but it took time. I had to take some breaks, take a breath, allow myself to cool down before I would go and deal with the situation. So that's a piece, right, of being patient with yourself, using some ways to break your habits. Also with it being tough to do, well, sure, absolutely. And as you do it more, you'll build more confidence, right? It'll be easier because you'll start getting into the flow of the conversation, and you'll start identifying how these pieces all work together, and you'll feel when you do it well, you'll feel this connection with your child and this engagement that you hadn't felt before. And it'll feel so much smoother. And then as you feel that and you start seeing that, it becomes easier and easier. And again, it builds your confidence, which building that confidence does make it more comfortable and easier. I don't know if it's always, there'll ever be something that makes it completely comfortable. It's never fun to have tough conversations. But you should get, with practice and doing it over and over, you'll get more confident and more comfortable in it, which makes it easier.
Yeah, I hear this reward of connection. I mean, as soon as you said that, I can imagine connecting on a difficult topic such as the one you brought up in video with, it's not always necessarily a tough conversation about trying to have the child do something or accomplish something that's a chore or a responsibility or something they said they would do or something that you asked them to do, but it could be something around life events, life circumstances that could be difficult to relate either because of their developmental age and understanding, and or just a topic that maybe is taboo or difficult to talk about in general, maybe even brushes up against some of our own areas of discomfort, potentially as a parent, in life experience, or life experience we don't necessarily have and don't know how to talk about.
Yeah. And even in those situations, we might change up a little bit of the 4 steps, right? We might state what it is we want to talk about with the child. And then with the first step, the second step, exploring what they know and understand about it. And the third step being clarifying what information really is out there and making sure that they do understand, which is kind of making sure any knowledge gaps are covered. And then exploring any further what other questions, concerns they have in step 4 instead of some kind of a change. If we're just trying to deal with maybe the topic is sex or something, right? There's not necessarily an outcome we need in the end, so step 4 might just be a little bit more exploration of what other thoughts or concerns or questions do they have.
Oh yeah, or how might they bring those questions up with you when they do have them, if they don't have them now.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. So as an example, with trying to have my child, as a parent, accomplish homework, and it's been a challenge for a long time. So it's progressively, from my own judgment, worsened in the sense that it's becoming more and more of a struggle to get them to do it and accomplish it timely. If I'm not following up on it throughout the evening, it seems like it's last minute. They're at bedtime and the child is still not accomplishing the homework. Wonder if we might be able to kind of go through, maybe even role play would be helpful for others to kind of really get a sense of what one of these conversations might look like, and maybe they can even feel like to have.
Sure.
With a child that's not accomplishing their homework.
So let's say that you're my child.
Okay.
And we'll have that conversation with you. So I might sit down with you and say, hey, I've noticed that each time it's time to do homework, you are upset and frustrated. You often don't go and do it. You go do other things, and it's not done by bedtime. So tell me a little bit about what's going on. So just really quickly, I'm going to process as we go. If you notice, I did step 1. I was clear about what the behavior is that I'm trying to talk about or the situation. And then I immediately went into step 2 by asking you open-ended question about your perspective on this topic. So apologize as we go through. I'll highlight some of these things, but
yeah, no, that's helpful too, just to know where we're at. Well, I like my video games, and I just I don't know, I'll get it done. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, so your video games, you want to take a break in the evening. You want to relax and go play those. They're exciting and fun for you.
Yes, I love my video games.
Yeah. So when it comes time to do homework, it's not video games. You've already been at school all day, so it's not fun to go do homework as fun as it is do the video games. So you kind of want to push back so you can go do your video games.
Yeah, they give us so much homework, and it feels like no matter how much I do at school while I'm at school, I always end up coming home with some, and I just don't want to do it right away.
Okay, so you really want to break from things, and you advocate for yourself, whether it's from fighting or pushing it off. You advocate to be able to go do those video games and have that relaxation time.
Yeah, and and I don't really like math that much, so it's a little hard too, and I guess that's probably why I don't do it also, I guess.
Okay, so math is one of the harder topics, and that one is a little easier to push off and try to find other things to do, like video games, than to do your math, because of how difficult it is.
Yeah, I just get frustrated. I'm kind of mad. I don't want to. I just want to go play video games.
Okay. So if you notice so far what I've been doing, and some of this, again, we address in the larger training, which I'm doing open-ended questions and reflections. I'm getting a better understanding of what's going on with you. And from my perspective, I don't have to fix anything at this moment, right? I can just have empathy that the fact that, well, shoot, we all love our relaxation time, right? And when we have the opportunities to relax, when we've been working all day, I know how that feels when I come home from work and it's like, okay, I just need to put my feet up. Right? So I can have empathy towards this. So my reflections is conveying some of that empathy I have and the understanding I have of their perspective. And I've kind of worked through. So if you were in this child's situation, how might you be feeling at this point?
Surprised that I've gotten to say as much as I have, and you haven't told me that I'm bad or wrong or tried to fix it.
Right. So I've kind of done what you do in step 2 at this point, right? I've gathered information, I've gained empathy, I've conveyed that empathy. Now I'm going to be moving into step 3, okay? So you're going to hear me transition and do step 3. So it'll look like this. So with what I heard you saying is that you have a hard time with math, and so you kind of want to shirk that off and push it off.
Mm-hmm.
And you want your relaxation time when you get home from school, and so the combination of both those things, you want to be able to just play your video games and not do the tough math.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's all right, I'd like to share, make sure we're clear about the rule in the home. And the rule in the home is that the homework is done that night before you go to bed.
I know.
So with that rule though, and understanding, because I know how that feels, understanding what it's like to want to come home and relax and just, have fun during your day, and we all need that. How do you think we could go about a more effective way for you to be able to have your homework done so you're abiding by the rules of the home and still getting your relaxation and your video game time in and being able to deal with hard math? So at this point, quickly to identify, right? We wrapped up, gave a summary for number 2. We, with permission, identified what the rule is so that we're clear about the rules. And now I've moved into number 4 with kind of exploring how could we resolve this problem, right? So they can feel some empathy. We've made things clear. Now we're trying to identify a solution. But if you notice, I'm looking for the solution from them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've tried asking the teacher a couple times about these things I don't understand, but I don't know. I guess I feel stupid asking, and I don't want to, don't want people to think that I don't understand math, so I just don't say anything. And then I come home and I just get mad.
Okay. So you feel a lot of anger about not knowing how to do the math.
Yeah, it seems like other people just get it.
So it makes you feel some negative emotions about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think might be some ways to get around that? Some ways, options, things you have within the classroom, things you have, options and resources, solutions you have here at home?
Well, you help me with my other homework. Maybe we could do math together.
Okay, so one solution would be if you're struggling with math, let me know and we can work on it together. Okay.
If I can get it done, I'd rather get it. I'd like doing it like I do my other stuff, my other homework, get it done right away so then I don't have to. Because then I can just play video games until I go to bed.
Yeah, so if you get all of your homework done as soon as you get home, including math, then you get the opportunities to have freedom to do what you want and play video games. And then there's no fights at the end of the day. So that might be beneficial to you.
I like that better.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is when you come home, you're going to go ahead and try to do your math first. If you need help, you're going to come get me. Then do your other homework, and then you're free to go about playing your video games.
Yeah.
Okay. You feel good about this?
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay. So, outside of my closed question there at the end,
yeah.
What you're seeing is that I'm just processing through for a solution that you can come up with, and then I'll support it, right? And then we might talk a little further about trying it out tomorrow and making sure they're good with it, and then giving it a try.
Yeah. And so I can imagine with, being that this scenario, we kind of came up with it on the spot, with parents working with their children in some cases probably having a little bit more of an intimate understanding of what the dynamics in the house are. Of course, there may be a little bit more complexity, or sometimes it may even be more simple than this type of scenario. For those who would be looking for additional guidance on kind of working through this and being able to talk through this as you and I just did, what suggestions would you have for some of the audience who have been working through this section?
Yeah, the first thing I always recommend to anybody when they're trying new skills is to practice. So first thing to do, go out and try, right? So start having the conversations. Practice on some easy, tough conversations first before you start tackling it on really difficult ones. And outside of practice, I would always encourage to go through the lengthier motivational parent training and get to learn how the MI Lead skills are adopted and how they can influence our parenting. So that way you get the full picture of what everything is and how to use open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. The other option is to get consultation. And so do consultation with us, and we can look at real-life situations that you're in, talk about how to utilize these skills, and kind of go over all the skills that we talk about.
So for the larger class, that being an option, getting a bigger breadth of all the different skills and all the components, how they fit together, as well as, either in addition to I can get consultation, or by itself I can get consultation even after in accompanying with this section.
Correct.
And work on a one-on-one kind of experience with you.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.